government as to how to deal with this. But in the chaos, we are very worried that some of the most fundamental issues will be lost. The rights issue, and many of the rights issues are in post-1992 achievements, right to water, indigenous people's rights, the right to food. We still see that being undermined, so we don't see any change. In fact, we see a much more hardening of positions. The Sustainable Development Goals was really put forward as a way to try and overcome the controversies around the green economy. The green economy controversies continue because we still don't have a common understanding. And the SDGs have the danger of just basically lulling us into thinking that we may have a solution, but it's very complicated. What is the relationship with the MDGs? We all have been saying as civil society groups, the MDGs themselves were sort of dilution and selective benchmarking of certain aspects of the whole cluster of sustainable development and human rights commitments of the last 20, 30 years. And that's why we go back to the Millennium Declaration, which as a political document of the United Nations encapsulates the highest standards of what we have achieved. And now we're not looking to that as a starting point, we're looking at only the MDG. And even the MDGs, needs to be massaged to sort of say it has been successful. And all the little things we gain in parts of the MDGs will not be sustainable. They may even be disappearing as we speak if we don't deal with the fundamental structural flaws. So MDG 8, nobody talks about. There were never any real targets. There were no indicators for international cooperation. And that MDG 8 requires us to do very, very necessary things with the trade and financial system. And that really has not happened. So we are very concerned that the road towards June is only a few more weeks. And there's a lot of little details being put into the text, but the more fundamental principles and framework, which should be reaffirmed, will actually be thrown out maybe without even being realized, or being diluted and fragmented, so that we will leave Rio with very little cohesion and more worrying that we will lower even more the level of trust and confidence to have real international cooperation. I'm not going to go into details because I think all that we will be working through the next 2 weeks. But at this point, these are some of the concerns that we noticed. So things like technology transfer, which was within the understanding of cooperation and preferential treatment, all those concepts have been thrown out, and mutually agreed terms and conditions is about commercial contracts. Obligations are turned to voluntary. I was struck when the EU said this morning, and it is welcome that we do not want heads of states to go to Rio and just do recognition. We want to go there and commit ourselves, because you can do recognition at home, you don't have to go to Rio. That's very true. But if you select what you want to commit, so when it comes to the commitment, let's say on means of implementation, like finance or technology transfer of appropriate technologies, will we see strong language of commitment, or will we only see commitment selectively? And then we're back to recognizing based on, so be guided by the real principles as appropriate has been introduced. So this is something that I think we need to think about and hope to get a discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Yo Pling.